What is going on, guys? UCF Jaguar here with GenJag.com, and it was a busy day when it comes to our roster today as wide receiver D.D. Westbrook got placed on the injured reserve. We had the Jaguars release our offensive guard Earl Watford, and then they picked up former New York Jet and former Cleveland Browns safety Calvin Pryor off of waivers, and they also picked up an offensive guard Josh Walker. So let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. So I'll start off and talk about the most alarming piece of news, and that was that our 4th round draft pick, rookie D.D. Westbrook, has been placed on the injured reserve. Now, this one really sucks because we all saw him in a preseason, and he had the most receiving yards amongst all NFL receivers in the preseason. Actually, most receiving yards of anybody in the preseason. So we saw this guy, he was electric, but it was a really weird situation with the way the Jaguars are using D.D. Westbrook. Now, me personally, I have a grading system almost when it comes to the draft. You know, the first round, I want that guy to be an impact player from the start. And then players from rounds 2 to 4, you want those guys to be not necessarily starters, but key contributors to the team. And then players from the 5th to 7th round, I just see as more players that you just want to be able to take a chance on a guy and maybe he can blossom into something great. But the Jaguars didn't treat D.D. Westbrook like a 4th round draft pick. They treated him like he was an end of the roster guy trying to make the team. From the very beginning, Doug Marrone was saying how he was having trouble escaping press coverage, so they had him taking reps with the 3rd team kind of players. Then once preseason game, he wasn't getting any snaps with the ones. He was only really going in with the 3rd string players. And then he sat out the 3rd preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. He had some kind of like hernia issue. He got a evaluation on it, and then they decided not to play in week 3. And then he actually flew up to Philadelphia to get the thing looked at to get a second opinion on it. And then after that, a lot of Jaguar fans didn't expect him to play week 4, but he actually did wind up playing week 4, which was a little weird just because usually in those last games, if anybody has a little bit of an injury, they usually hold him out. I mean, Leonard Fournette, they held him out the whole preseason because somebody stepped on his foot. So just the way they used him was just really, really poor in my opinion, and it's almost like the coaches, it's like they had something out against him. Usually you see these draft picks and just players in general, you want to defend what you have. You know, you want to defend your assets, try to be able to have them healthy. But in that 4th preseason game, they had him playing the whole entire game into the 4th quarter. And then Jaguar fans, Jaguar media were like, what the heck is D.D. Westbrook still doing in here? We know what we have in him. This guy is a beast. But now Jaguars placed him on the injured reserve, so I guess he must have aggravated it during that 4th preseason game. And it's just really terrible management, just coaching management of our team. Now, luckily it is at the wide receiving position, so it's really probably our deepest position on the team. I know we have Al Robinson, Marquise Lee, Allen Hurts is our top 3 guys. And then you're having the emergence of Keelan Cole, who the Jaguars coaches really like. So, you know, those are 4 really solid players, I think, that will be able to lead our aerial attack. But now that he is on the IR, it doesn't mean he's going to be out the whole season. He's guaranteed to be out at least 8 weeks, and then they have 2 IR spots that they can designate to return. So at an early look at it, it looks like they're trying to maybe bring back Michael Rivera and potentially Westbrook, depending on how the wide receiving group is doing. And you never know if we have a week 1 injury and all of a sudden, Leonard Fournette's got to get put on the IR. Then he'd probably be more in the range to come back. But, not a very fun piece of news to hear whenever you have a player get injured like that. And going into another move that we made, the Jaguars decided to release Earl Watford and sign this dude Josh Walker, who's been all over the NFL. He's been on Houston, he's been on Green Bay, Indianapolis, but it's just a really weird move because Earl Watford was a player who just got back from injury. He played in the 4th preseason game against the Falcons, and he was drawing good reviews by a guy like Tom Coughlin, saying that he thought he had a really good game. So you thought there was some good momentum for him going. There was that 4-way competition at that left guard spot, but now it looks like he's out of the running for it. The Jaguars still haven't determined a starting offensive guard, so it's just a bad situation. You look at what the Jaguars have done at that left guard spot. Luke Bowenko is very much in the running for it, and all of a sudden they trade him out to Baltimore. Earl Watford you thought was going to be very much in the running, and now they release him and sign a new guy. They have no solidity at this left guard spot, and it's looking like a terrible position going into this year. You really just don't know what these coaches are doing. And then we'll go into the last bit of news, and that was that the Jaguars claimed safety Calvin Pryor from the Cleveland Browns. Now, this guy has had a pretty interesting road these last few years. I mean, just look, he was a first-round draft pick in the 2014 NFL draft by the Jets. He was pretty much a bust. 3 years later, he gets traded over to Cleveland for nothing much. I think it was like a late-round draft pick or something like that. And once he's over at Cleveland, he got released by them because apparently he got in some kind of fight or altercation at practice this week or last week. And then now the Jaguars claimed him. Now, I don't really know why we claimed him because we currently now have 5 safeties on the roster, and that looked like those 4 guys with Barry Church, Tashawn Gibson, and then our backups, Peyton Thompson and Jared Wilson. It looked like they were all a pretty solid group, but it's being told that Tashawn Gibson is injured and he may or may not play on Sunday, so I don't know if this is just a little bit of insurance for him, but it's just a weird thing because I asked my buddy Jet Central about it, and if you want to watch a video of his where he kind of explains more about this guy, because, you know, he's a Jets YouTuber, he knows a lot more about him than I do, but from what he says is that he's a very good, very athletic player and everything, but he's not a very smart football player. He's more of a box safety type of player, a player that will hit, you know, that will knock the crap out of you, but it's just weird because we don't really have a box safety position anymore. We're playing more dual safety. You know, in our defense last year it would have been a lot better, but we're going to have more coverage responsibility out of both safeties. So it just seems like this player, he just doesn't seem like too big of a scheme fit, but we'll see what happens with him. But just to sum things up, the Jaguars gained 2 players with Calvin Pryor and Josh Walker, and then 2 players are now off, with Dede Westbrook being moved to the injured reserve and the Jaguars releasing offensive guard Earl Watford. This is UC at Jaguar with GenJag.com. I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.